ready, Abiel? Yes, I am. Are you ready, Brady? Okay, all right, cool. All right, everybody, thank you for coming to the Town of St. Paul's regular council meeting, Monday, February 10th. It is 7:03 current time. At this time, if we could, let's have the call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Simmons.
Here.
Mr. Trevino.
Here.
Mr. Graham.
Here.
Mr. Swanner.
Here.
Mr. Dryden.
Here.
Mr. Nell.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum, all members are present. If you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank all of y'all for coming again. I love to see this place with a lot of people in it. It makes it so much better for us. So we'll go through the announcements. This Friday, February 14th is the final day for anyone interested in running for town council. You can sign up and place your name on the ballot. We have 3 seats that are up every year. It rotates. Place 1, place 2, and place 4. If you're interested, you can see Scott after that. The previous council meeting, an announcement was made regarding the workshop to discuss plans for repairing and reconstructing the town's streets and drainage system. This workshop has been moved to March the 10th with Abiel. He'll be back here on March 10th as far as that goes for a workshop. And so at this time, we'll take the public comments. I don't necessarily put a time limit on it. It says 3 minutes. I will keep you to under 10 minutes, I can tell you that. But if you could, keep it short and precise. We do hear everything you say. It's recorded. We see it. You'll see it again. So just know that we do pay attention to everything you say. So at this time, Gustavo Martinez, if you'd like to name and address, your address, please.
My name is Gustavo Martinez. I'm at 2309 Silver Maple Drive. I wanted to follow up with my topic about my fence, and I have my lot survey for some visualization aid. I don't know if I can give you all a copy.
You can. Sure.
All right. So, this is.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. So everything in yellow is, or I'm sorry, everything highlighted in pink is where 4 years ago when I moved here was a fence already. Lee brought up a good point that there should be a utility and drainage easement, and it is there on the survey. It's on every side if you can look at it, right? Now again, every one of those parts has a fence already. Scott Albert,
Yes.
right, had mentioned setting a precedent by allowing me to do this, right? The precedent's already been set because on this side, I already got a permit and already got done a long time ago. Same thing here and here in the back. It's a big property, so I didn't do everything at once, right? Again, the other side that's shared only came up because of Mark Campbell. At some point he was okay with it, we talked about it, but something changed within him, and now, again, he's probably here bringing up things, right? When we look at construction, the drainage and utility easement is mostly in regards to buildings. So that's why that shed is not in the easement. Again, there's a fence there already. I don't know what else I can say. I'm just trying to replace the fence with another fence where the fence already exists.
I didn't think you had a fence down that one side.
There's a fence everywhere, except in the back where Mark does not have a problem. The back area that it says, this right here, there's half a fence, and then the rest is not fenced in. I'm trying to enclose my property, security, safety, etc., right?
Okay.
Privacy.
There's a 4-foot black fence down that one side.
That's Mark Campbell's black wrought iron fence, correct?
That's this one right here running up and down.
Okay, that's the one I'm talking, but you don't have a fence running on that side yet.
No, but the plot thing that Scott sent said that there can't be a fence, blah, 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 right? There's already a fence. Mark put up a fence a long time ago. I'm not asking him to do anything new again. Every single one of these sites has been permitted, at least partially, to construct partially the fence. and all the other sites have been permitted and built and done, and it's fine. We
Is
look
the
at
real
other
risk,
properties.
is the real risk if a fence is there that it could have to be torn down if utilities needed to get through it? Is
All
that
right.
the issue?
So the last time Mr. Gustavo came before the council, we spoke about the plat, but then we also talked about the potential of giving a potential waiver to where he could build an easement. So I did reach out to legal counsel, our land use counsel, and asked him for his opinion. So I'm going to read into record what he shared with me, so it's part of public record. So once a plat is recorded and lot sold, plat becomes part of the restrictive covenants that are binding on the owners within the subdivision. The town does not have authority to waive the restriction on improvements on these easements. Any property owner in the subdivision would have a viable claim against the town if the town attempts to grant a waiver or provide some other relief that would have the effect of negating a restrictive covenant. There's your answer.
So we don't have authority to do any variance here.
Right.
So what recourse does the homeowner have?
I believe he has to move in 10 feet off that, his part of that drainage easement.
That's right. I mean,
And then when you get to your property that's not in that drainage easement, that's when you can put that retaining wall and fence there, which is, I believe it's 20 foot wide, right? So 10's on Campbell, 10's on you.
Well, I'm not asking for a variance. Again, there's already a fence, I'm just trying to see some logic here. I see
well,
what he's saying.
if we issue a permit, then we're providing a waiver.
Right. So
I see.
if that fence, so, forgive me for interrupting, but if that fence that currently exists, if that's Mr. Mark Campbell's, is there a way that we can look up to see if that, that original permit, because you're saying that's Mr. Mark Campbell's fence, the wrought iron fence?
Yeah, I don't have a claim for it, yeah.
Okay, so, and I'm assuming it's the fence that would run, so what is direction is that? Is that gonna be east-west?
Or south. Yeah, it'd be east-west. That's
East-west,
correct.
okay, so on that east-west fence, direct east-west. So, I'd like to see of that, you know, but is there anything that the town can do to say, at this point, there's absolutely nothing that we can do to issue?
No.
Is there any actions that we can take on a fence that shouldn't be there, that's built in that easement?
I can go back and look to see what permits were issued.
I'm just trying to make sure
Right,
that
right.
we're tidied
Right,
up everywhere.
Right.
The challenge they're gonna run into is every other property in that neighborhood's got a fence on the property,
Yeah.
period.
And so if we're talking about claims, again, I already have the claims. I don't want to waste my time involving more people, attorneys, that don't know. So, that's it. Larry knows, there's a fence on every single property, most of them on the property line, because that's what's normal. I don't see the logic here.
So in the past, somehow fences got put where they're not supposed to be according to restrictive covenants on particular properties, right?
Correct.
And it was restrictive covenants we weren't aware of. is
Correct.
probably the magic item.
I would assume I would.
Yeah, I mean, none of us were here.
Yeah, none of us were here,
Right.
but the permits were issued being unaware of the restrictive covenant that Mr. Goff put in place when he signed into the HOA and whatnot.
I would assume that's what happened, yes.
And once we know, we can't ignore it as the challenge.
And is the issue that fences have to be permitted, and that's what,
Well, you have covenants on every one of those lots in Vista Oaks. And we don't have the legal authority to offer a waiver, even by signing a permit, for someone to go construct something within that particular easement. Because then we, being the town, we're liable.
so if the fence is already there, can it be repaired?
If they came in for a permit, we would not issue, no.
So, you're asking me to give up 2,000 square feet of my property by setting the fence back 10 feet. And again, there's a fence there already, I don't see it.
I think where everyone here is, and you've heard that, yes, I understand your 2,000 square feet, but if it's in a covenant of that particular neighborhood, that paperwork was in the plats when you bought it, there's nothing that we can do to allow you to build inside that drainage easement. You can back off 10 feet onto your property out of that easement, and that would be acceptable.
The front side, I already built there with a permit. Again, I've been allowed to build already there.
I understand that someone previous to my knowledge, and me being here, made an error. But we cannot continue to go down the road of making errors when legal has advised us that we cannot cut that variance, that special exemption on that. That is just, it's in your plat, it's in your subdivision neighborhood. Other people may have built a fence there. Again, if they come in and need a permit for repair, that neighborhood, now that it's been made aware of everyone that's here, will look at that, and if it's in that deal, they will have to move that fence to repair it, because we can't continue to allow to build inside of something that's not permitted.
What about the fences that are already there?
That's what I just said.
The one that's already there?
Again, I just addressed that with maintenance issues. If it gets, somebody comes in to pull a permit for maintenance, they'll find out at that time that they can't put that fence there. We'd have to address it at that time. So that's the only thing I can tell you at this point, Gustavo. I would love to be able to help you, but again, if legal counsel makes a decision, we have to follow what our legal counsel and what the town must do.
Okay. I'm guessing that part that the attorney shared with you was not shared with me, right? Would you just mention to them?
No, I mean, I just got this a
Okay.
couple days ago from them.
All right. And y'all are saying that this is recorded. Where can I see the minutes afterwards?
They're posted on our website.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for speaking. I appreciate that, Gustavo. Next is Sarah Beth Graham.
Can I just stand here? Is that okay? Or are we supposed to walk?
No, you're-
Okay. I'm hoping we can show some videos. That's why I'm here, is to look at some videos.
I'm sorry?
Can we look at some videos?
Yeah, we can,
Possible?
let me see if I can click on them.
Okay. All right, so this is, I'm just trying to show what's happening at the west side of Lakeway Drive on Friday afternoons. This truck is an example of just on any given Friday, we'll see very many vehicles decide that they don't want to go down and turn around, so they will just U-turn into the street in order to reverse and come back out toward Country Club. So I'm facing Lakeway Drive so that you can see what's happening. The other thing that happens is there's a double yellow line that those cars are parked on. And so that double yellow line that's supposed to be a single lane, that ends up being, they make that into 2 lanes. And so people are trying to turn left out of that one lane, and then people are trying to turn right out of that 1 lane. If those lanes on Lakeway Drive get backed up, instead of using those now 2 lanes, the parking lot right in front of Country Club Road also becomes a 2-lane road. So if this is often very backed up, and so if people don't want to wait in that line, they will just cut through the parking lot and essentially then make a left-hand turn lane out of the parking lot and a right-hand turn out of the parking lot. So now in that very small area, we have essentially 4 lanes, everybody trying to go in different directions onto Country Club Road.
I'm sorry, where do you live?
Oh, on Lakeway Drive,
Oh, okay.
3525
So this
Lakeway Drive.
affects you.
Absolutely. I have a
Okay.
child on that school bus that has been left out in the middle of Country Club Road for cars to have to swerve around it, and it's very unsafe. And it's not getting safer, it's getting worse. So that's the one video kind of showing the U-turn. And this one is just showing that line of cars that has now made multiple lanes. And then there's a third video that I took on Friday, and this was not at a very populated time. So this is coming out of that parking lot. Like I said, they'll make this also a left and a right turn onto Country Club Road. But I just happened to be walking by. This is the 18-wheeler that does deliveries on Friday afternoons. This is just kind of a perfect storm that happens. So this truck sat there for about 5 minutes on Country Club trying to figure out what he was gonna do to get into Lakeway Drive. That blue car right there, in front of that, on Lakeway Drive, was blocking where he wanted to turn. So eventually he gets tired, he decides he's gonna come pull down the opposite direction, and this is the least populated I've ever seen Country Club Road, so we got really lucky on this. And then he decides he's gonna try to back in, but keep in mind that blue car is blocking him from pulling next to the curb. So instead of being able to just back it in normally, he has to take multiple angles at it to try to get around and get into what essentially should be, hopefully, a loading zone, okay, because this is super unsafe. I couldn't video both areas, but my head had turned, and so there were cars that were having to stop. That is a 45-mile-an-hour road, and they were having to stop to avoid slamming into this 18-wheeler that decided it needed to back into Lakeway Drive. So at the same time, cars are leaving 3990, so they're not giving any space on the right-hand side. Like I said, they're about to make this into a 2-lane left and right turn, and then we have the car right there that's parked in what is technically a parking spot right now. That is not no parking, and so now the truck is having to try to continue to back up in order to get into a loading zone area. So those are essentially the 3 videos. Just to conclude, on a personal note, my son is not riding the school bus home on Friday afternoons, as it's not safe for him because of these parking and traffic issues. There are other families who are not allowing their children to ride the school bus either. This parking and traffic situation is unsafe. It is out of control, and it has been. This is well documented, and the council has heard of this concern many times from me. And this is mostly entirely due to insufficient parking at 3990. I implore this council to take any and all means necessary to rectify this situation. Please enforce the current ordinances and hold everyone to the same set of standards. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Ellis,
Okay, so before, if you don't
oh,
mind.
I'm sorry.
So this is on the agenda tonight, as everybody should know, just to make sure that we are aware of it. Thank you for continuing to bring information to us. We have been taking action, and we'll be hopefully taking further action tonight, just for everybody to know.
I just wanted to let y'all know that it's still happening and it's
Yeah.
still a problem.
Right.
So, because this was from Friday.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Ellis?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, I'd like to relinquish my time to the next citizen, but reserve the right to reclaim.
And who would that be?
Next, whatever piece of paper you got there.
Mr. Joel Halpin.
Okay.
Joel Hoppin, I'm the pastor of Connection Point Church. We own the property right across 2601 Parker Road. I'm just here to make sure we're being good neighbors. We hope to be good neighbors for a long time to come. We haven't started building or anything over across there, but we just want to make sure you know who we are. And if you ever need anything, feel free to ask us. Same for the city. If you ever need volunteers, anything we can do for you, we just want to be good neighbors.
Okay, thank you. You ready now?
Okay. Have these neighbors over here where this church is going to be built, are they present? Have they ever?
That's the gentleman that just spoke. Yes, sir.
I don't, right across the street? Yes, that's it. That's me.
You're building the church?
Are you talking about 1702 Parker? Which one?
2601, right across the street.
Yeah, right across the street. Have these neighbors over here next to where he's going to build, are they aware of what's going on, and do they have concerns, or?
They are aware.
Okay.
We did an SUP and all the neighbors were notified.
They were all notified.
Yes.
Several people, as I recall, several people showed up, yes. So it's a standard procedure for the HCP to have everybody within that area notified.
Secondly, I'd like to know what the status is on this, on whatever it is, 39, whatever this address is down here for this other church.
3990?
I
think he's talking about
1702 Park.
We are going to be sending out a packet for them to submit an SUP, specific use permit, and explaining to them what they would have to submit along with that packet. That's where we are right now.
Do they know they're gonna have some serious engineering done for drainage?
There will be some discussion in that packet regarding that, yes, sir.
I'd like to ask, I was just curious, what is KSA Engineers recommending for the Lakeway Drive on-street parking evaluation? What was that result?
That's why KSA is here tonight, and we'll be going over their technical memorandum here in just a few minutes.
Okay.
And which one is it, 6.8 or?
It's 6.2, I believe.
6.2.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Miss Mary Reynolds?
Hi, I'm Mary Reynolds, and I live at 1441 Lakeview Drive, and I would like to know what is going on with the house on,
17.
no, not that one.
Not that one.
The house that is so huge that.
Carrie?
Yeah, Carrie Lane. The meeting, I think it was January the 13th, there were like 3 issues that you guys were gonna follow through, and I would like to know what's going on with it, because it's gonna affect us all.
One of the issues we discussed was preparing a definition for single-family residence. We do have that, I just haven't presented it to P&Z and council yet.
They should have that copy.
Pardon?
They should know that.
They should know.
So he's prepared it,
I-
he's going through the
So there-
process of giving it to them?
Okay.
So we talked about defining what a single-family residence for,
Okay,
in our code.
Okay.
Because we didn't have clear definition in the town code as far as
Okay.
single-family residence. So I started drafting a definition, which I haven't presented yet to P&Z and council, but I'm ready to move forward with that definition.
okay, so, can you define a single-family living code here for all of us to hear?
I don't have the exact language in front of me, but I will
Okay.
present that to P&Z shortly.
Okay, okay. Well, because my understanding is it's only allowed 1 kitchen,
Mhm.
and the people were building another kitchen, and so that indicates there's going to be a multitude of families living there. And, you know, Lakeview is a very quiet neighborhood, and that's how we would like to keep it. I mean,
Right.
we welcome people in, but not to that kind of living style. That's just too much. And so that was what you guys were going to prepare on January the 19th, or 13th.
Do you have the other 2 issues?
No, I didn't. That was the main one.
Yes.
And something about, let's see, authorized town secretary, and code violations. So I guess it's not in code violation. And no, that was primarily the biggest issue, was that.
I will be presenting it to P&Z here soon.
Okay.
Who actually,
I prepared a couple, if you're talking about the definition, I prepared a couple of drafts that I had our land use council review. We amended, so I have a final draft that I'm ready to present to P&Z and council.
so P&Z
P&Z
blesses it and then
will,
council approves it? Is that
right, P&Z will review it, make a recommendation to council, then council will amend the zoning ordinance. Now, we'll obviously have to go through some hearings because we're amending the zoning ordinance, so we'll have to go through that whole process as well.
Thank you.
Ms. Allison McIntyre?
1417, or 1413, sorry, Lakeview Drive, that was our old address. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of go down the agenda. The property at 2500 Lavon Parkway for curb ramp, I'm taking that's for ADA compliance for a resident.
That is not correct.
Okay.
That's
Are there
for,
sidewalks there?
the discussion on that is due to repairs. When this road crews did it, it did some damage, and it's for repairs.
Okay. Let me see. So KSA engineers are supposed to, or have evaluated Lakeway Drive.
That is correct, that'll be 6-2.
The gentleman that's here representing
KSA.
KSA, is he a member of that church that's at?
No, he's part of our engineering firm that we
Okay,
use here.
just want to make for sure that we didn't have a conflict of interest. The other one, 6.3, when did this happen? I mean, I noticed that you guys are talking about having communication. It's, the residents, we don't find out about this stuff until the Friday or the Monday of a meeting. So.
Right, a lot of
It's a
times it's like that.
surprise.
You can watch the videos at the end before, and a lot of it you can find out from the answers of when we cover this stuff
Yeah.
today. So this is something that comes in yearly,
Okay.
pretty regular, and we address it, and then we try to move forward.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, going back to 3998 Lakeway Drive, I've been reading up on the state of Texas laws for SUPs, especially for churches in residential areas. And for the most part, it's a shoe-in, regardless. But in this instance, after watching, she's left, her videos, if a facility, religious facility, shows that it is a danger or a detriment to the community, which that is, from watching that, it can be declined. So either the parking has to be fixed, they have to hire police officers to direct on Fridays, because there's an elementary school that my kids went to who are now 20, and we had to cross all that when they were doing construction on Country Club, and that sucked big time.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah, when people are pulling their kids off the school bus, there's an issue,
Yes, ma'am.
huge issue. So the other thing has the interlocal agreement with the city of Parker for municipal court services. That's been on the agenda quite often. Has there been a resolution yet?
It gets tabled. In fact, I have an email, I'll fill everybody in on that
Okay.
when that agenda item comes up tonight.
Do we know what's going to go on with 2502 Meadowlark?
The house
The
is,
Dietrich residence?
from what I understand, Alex lives across the street, and that house will be up for sale here shortly.
Okay, but basically it's been abandoned for
Not as
a
long as you
while.
think.
Not as long as you think, so the girls were there. So there's been a lot of talk, especially, I went to P&Z about this comprehensive plan with Norris Design and the Food and Beverage Overlay District. Although I feel that's really important, I find that our codes and our ordinances are really lacking, and that a consultant for that would be money better spent, so we can tighten down on kind of what's built, have a little bit more control than to plan something and have people building, and then, like this gentleman in his fence, oops, we made a mistake. So I really feel like those things need to be tightened and expanded, and, I was at the P&Z meeting and heard the graffiti ordinance and the fence ordinance, and we all.
Those were not ordinances.
Well, the ones that were talking about what to write and maybe write, we can all sit down and go through every city and read all their ordinances and take, this section and that section, but in the end, it needs to be someone who is familiar, has the legal capability to write them, and I think those are very important because we've been here 10 years, and over the past 3, ordinance issues keep coming up. It's like, that one's not real good. So, the other thing is when we bid out stuff, do we bid to more than one
That's correct.
person?
That's correct. State
And then
law
we-
requires it,
yeah. And then we have like a list of preferred vendors.
and they have to be vetted.
Okay. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I wrote some notes on the bottom of your form, and I do appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, Tim Wyatt,
I'm good, thank you.
you good? You got your answers?
I got,
Okay. I have one more here from Mr. Malik, and I'm going to let him speak when we get to the topic of the letter of intent. for St. Paul and Mr. Malik's company. And so he's already asked me, and I gave him permission to speak during that period. So at that time, we'll close out on the public comments section and move to agenda item 5, which is your consent agenda.
Mayor, we need to remove item 5.3 from the agenda. I just didn't have time to prepare the January financial.
5.3?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve 5.1, 5.2, and 5.4 of the consent agenda.
I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. And motion carries. So at this time, we'll move on to regular agenda items. We're going to kind of change the order of what you see on your paperwork today because we have some guests here and we're going to free them up to get out of here a little bit. So item 6.2, discussion and possible action on accepting KSA Engineers Incorporated Lakeway Drive on-street parking evaluation technical memorandum. And Abiel, I'll let you take this.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for the opportunity to go over the memo that we've put together. So the intent of this study was to capture some of the concerns that have been repeated tonight, the things that are happening on Lakeway, do some field observations, be able to take a look at some of the things that are happening on the right-of-way of Lakeway Drive, and come up with some analyses of potential solutions. Our results are included in the technical memo that you referenced. It's actually on your laptop, and I was going to talk through it.
This one? There it is. Oh, I had it. Yeah. It's good.
And Mayor, I'll point to different slides. There's
Okay.
on page, probably the best one to kind of hold up on the screen is page 14 of the PDF, which is an aerial view of the street. If you keep scrolling down that one, that's a pretty good view right there. So that's a view of Country Club, which we labeled with the text dot highway number, which is 1378. And then the east-west road there is Lakeway Drive. So like many engineering reports, this is put together in a very typical fashion where the first part of the report has some existing conditions, basically a general description of the road, the width, the geometry, the fact that it serves a mix of rural estate style residential land uses, and then it has some commercial land uses on the south, including the storage tank from your utility district. In red dashes are locations where, with the previous effort, some no parking zones were established, mainly driven by mailbox locations, fire hydrant locations, and some other directives from a few years ago. I helped the previous administration with those that initial round of parking restrictions. Running through our study, I was just going to touch on some of the highlights. So some of the field observations, like I mentioned, of course, for those that may not be aware, I'm very familiar with the town. I have worked with previous administrations and have become pretty familiar with the makeup of the town and just some of the issues. With the help of Scott, we were able to connect with a few of the residents along Lakeway and be able to really kind of sit down and listen to some of the issues, very specific ones related to the school buses, to the experience of the residents of the parking limitations of the road and some of the land uses, and just to kind of high level capture some of the things that were noted, which I know have already been mentioned tonight. The school buses have a hard time navigating the northbound right-hand turn into Lakeway Drive, some of the conflicts with some of the vehicles. The video that the person that left showed basically summarized some of the comments that we were able to hear from some of the residents. That was a great visual, actually. The delivery truck, like the video showed, that's pretty representative of some of the comments that we heard from some of the residents. General comments about the school bus and how they have to kind of maneuver around some of the vehicles when they're parked near Country Club Drive. And then there were some comments about the interaction between vehicles that are exiting some of the existing commercial land uses and some of the traffic that's heading westbound and eastbound, meaning people that are turning from Country Club and the residents that are exiting on Country Club. Some of the comments also were related to the lane widths, which the resident that spoke earlier also mentioned. And so we were able to capture all those experiences, and we kind of summarized them in the memo. The town currently defers to the city of Plano. It has some history of why that is, but essentially the city uses the city of Plano's engineering standards as the standards for design and construction. Now, as you might imagine, those need to be often scaled down to the town because it's a very different context from the city of Plano. But just kind of giving some background on the methodology here. The methodology for this report is based on viewing the parking that is happening right now on the street through the lens of the concept of intersection sight distance. And for those that might not be aware, sight distance is a geometric criteria that is used for roadway design, where you are trying to maintain the visibility of a driver in order to be able to react to hazards, to vehicles, to pedestrians. You have sight distances that apply to when a vehicle is moving. You have sight distances when vehicles are parked. And in this case, you have sight distances at an intersection, which is represented by a cone of visibility. So if you picture yourself approaching an intersection, you may have noticed that at some intersections, particularly at TxDOT highways, you might see some fences that are kind of cut across or landscaping is scaled back. Those are cones of visibility where the agency responsible for maintaining the roadway is trying to ensure that a driver can see sufficient distance to be able to make decisions for pulling out of the road without being at risk of being hit, for example. And so we took a look at the sight distance triangles for the intersection of Lakeway and Country Club, as well as for each of the driveways, which in this context, each of the driveways for the residential uses are long enough and rural enough that they are basically like mini roads. And the commercial land uses are busy enough that they are also, they generate enough traffic as a roadway would. And so one of the exhibits that's the next, I think, exhibit after that one, it's pretty crowded, but it represents that analysis of all of the sight distance triangles. So each of those red and blue triangles represents one side of that cone. The standard for those cones is pretty set by multiple cities and agencies. The geometry of those cones is governed by an entity called AASHTO, which is a guidance, an industry standard for the design of roadways. It governs how to design the road horizontally and vertically. So that's basically our guidance document for us engineers that design roadways. And so as you can see, it's pretty crowded. There's a lot of visibility cones that overlap. It's intended to be, it's not until you zoom in where you see the areas where the cone is not affecting an area that is a potential for a location for parking, if that makes sense. So anywhere where the road interacts with a red or a blue area is an area where an obstruction would represent an impediment for visibility. And so what that means is, if we scroll to the next exhibit, what that means is, if we take all of those cones and apply parking restrictions, this is the result. And I realize it's a little bit hard to see, but every red solid line represents a curb segment where, according to the standard of intersection sight distance, an obstruction should not exist. This is related to the speed of Lakeway and the guidance from AASHTO, which I can get into if there are questions. The areas where the curb is blank in the exhibit are where there is no interaction with those cones. So presumably, those would be areas where parking is safer, and the areas in red would be the areas proposed to restrict parking. The yellow dots represent signs that are basically just conveying the message of no parking. When there is a big adjustment in driver behavior, like there is in this case, where parking today is allowed, but the proposal is to disallow parking, then these are locations where the town can elect to install no parking signs. So there's a little key of what the signs would be, but there's basically three signs: stop sign, no parking sign, and then the zoomed in area at the top left of the screen there, it has a green area, and that is in response to a loading zone that would be designated for those truck deliveries, for those commercial land uses on the corner of Country Club and Lakeway. It's about 50 feet long, but then it's tailed by a no parking area, so trucks that have a 53-foot trailer would be able to park in there and take more than 50 feet, but that green area would be the area that they'd be targeting. As you can tell, the parking would be very much restricted for the first about 75 feet, probably a little more, from Country Club in, and that's in response to the issues that are happening with how much traffic is trying to come out of Lakeway, the lack of gaps that are available in traffic on Country Club, and just the maneuvering that trucks have to do alongside buses and vehicles that would have been potentially parked. One of the issues that we heard about tonight is the lane assignments, and one of the proposals that's implied in the exhibit there as well is widening the center, the yellow, double yellow center turn lane, center striping line. So right now it's a normal double yellow. The proposal would be to make that a little bit wider to create what we call a gore area, which is an unfortunate name, but when you are driving on highways, you might see areas that have diagonal striping, where like ramps kind of divide up. Those areas are called gore areas, and they're mainly used for separating traffic without a physical obstruction, mainly for trucks that have a wide turning radius to be able to take over that area, but cars would stay out of that. So the idea would be to create that space so that the westbound vehicles would have a little bit of a narrower lane, and the dimension is there, which would be about 11 feet. We would widen that little gore area, and that would give a little more space for the buses specifically that are trying to make the northbound right-hand turn, so they have a little bit of more space. That 11-foot dimension would also help with the perception from the public, from the drivers, that there are two lanes, and instead restricting it to a single lane to kind of organize traffic a little better. I know that a question might be, well, right now there are two cars that can be on that outer lane. Really, there shouldn't be, because the road is about 30 feet wide, so they're just two wide lanes. So this would be normalizing that lane to a single 11-foot lane. And then, so those are the main recommendations that are in the report. There's a little more information in there, but of course today, for the context of the the council meeting, I wanted to touch on some of the existing conditions, what we heard, and the recommendations.
Okay. Rabia, any questions? So were you able to observe high traffic times, peaks or flows and any of that? In your observations?
Yes, both in observations, and that's a question that the engineer that helped me interact with the residents, her name was Nicolette, and she was able to get a sense of that. I don't remember what time that was off the top of my head, but I think we noted in the report. If I didn't, I'll make sure to amend it to include it. But it was associated, if I remember right, with schools getting up.
November 22nd, 1 PM through 4 PM
Okay.
on
thank you.
Friday.
So your recommendations on page 9 are complete, and that's a thorough set of your recommendations.
It is, Counselor. The only thing that could be potentially optional and could be phased is the use of the actual signs. The painting of the curb is already a restriction for parking, and the red curb would be the red curb plus the no parking stencil in white, if that sounds familiar, like how you use on fire lanes. And then the no parking signs is something that once you have a contractor that would do this, it can be a field decision of where it makes sense. But the locations that are marked are locations where if you wanted to layer on no parking, for example, if after painting the curb, you're still kind of observing that it's not being respected, then an additional sign can be the next escalation of noting, the new use of the roadway.
So it says on the recommendation, the north side of Lakeway Drive, paint the curb red from the end of the existing red curb to the first residential driveway. But then on the map up here, you have it kind of extending more towards the commercial driveway. Which one did you intend?
It's the diagram, so I'll make sure if like you're mentioning, to make sure the text matches it precisely what the diagram is intending to convey.
Yep.
So it's kind of both, but yes, we do need to clarify that on the north side and the south side, really. On both sides of the road, it's from Country Club extending the existing red curb that's already painted all the way to that first driveway.
Okay.
And then the next little segments that are shown beyond that. Yeah, we'll make sure to.
Scott, have we had any homeowners object to any of what's being presented here?
No, but this evening, what I'm recommending is for council just to accept this report and then allow enough time before you actually consider an ordinance, which would be presented to council at your March meeting, which I believe is March 10th. And at that time, then you would designate what areas along Lakeway that you would want to include no parking. But right now, if council's comfortable with the technical memorandum presented by KSA with the changes that have just been discussed, all I'm looking for from council this evening is that you accept this report, and then I'll move forward to the next phase, which would be the ordinance.
I make a motion that we accept KSA's technical memorandum.
Can I second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Wabi. Thank you, appreciate you being here.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So at this time,
Can I-
oh yeah, go ahead.
So, Scott, no, not Obi, but Scott, what are you thinking now again for March? Meeting?
I believe our next meeting is March 10th.
10th.
But I mean, what's the thought of the action items that we'll be taking on this? Or is it-
So we'll bring an ordinance before council, and at that time, we can have discussion about what areas actually along Lakeway, either the entire area, or if you want to take sections that you want to include as far as no parking.
What I would like to see is every homeowner that's affected by this, for them to give yea or nay for their property.
I will reach out to them in the next week and talk to
So,
each
I mean,
one of them.
sending this memorandum out, and letting them know so that, because in the past, we've had some homeowners that have said they wouldn't mind no parking in front of their house. We've
Okay.
had some that said they don't want it.
Okay.
So I'd like to know.
We'll send it out this week or next week. Okay.
Thank you.
Why not just add the no parking signs now?
Well, it has to be approved by ordinance.
Right, but-
In order for them to be enforced. So right now, the councils have been presented the findings from KSA. and we have to take formal action where, I'd like for this report, it's just now being made public. I'd like for it to, be made available to the public for a period of time, send it out to the residents along Lakeway, let them know the action that's going to be considered on March 10th. I think that's the appropriate steps.
We do need to take in the consideration of the residents, but we also need to take in the larger consideration for the people that drive down that road. And
Safety.
Have kids go down that road and, have, their husbands or their wives parking trucks to be able to unload. That's also very important. And so, I do want to hear from the residents though.
So what is the cost of doing this? So we pay for the engineering?
We haven't gotten to that stage as
At
yet.
that point, it would require bidding.
So,
Has to go out to multiple bids
and then, so it goes through ordinance, it gets approved, you put everything up, who are you gonna get to enforce it?
So when you have so depending, right, so if you have a moving violation, that now becomes Collin County. So
You
a phone
very
call.
seldom, you call them, they don't show. If it is a non-emergency, non-injury, they do not show. They posted on Facebook that they were gonna be going up and down Parker. They're parked over at the Parker Fire Station. I've seen 2 Collin County.
I understand. Just keep in mind that everything is a process.
Yeah,
And this
I
is-
do.
This is the beginning
And this is the beginning.
of a process,
And
and
I
we
feel
have to
pretty
go all the way
confident
through
this-
that.
This is gonna get done, that this will be done, and the hope is that the Islamic Center participants will follow the law. But if they don't, by
Again,
the time Collin County gets out here, the sheriff's department, they're
So
gone, unless they're there.
We have
But we
engaged,
see other churches, usually it's large churches, but other churches hire off-duty police officers to help them with traffic.
that's correct.
So,
we have engaged Collin County before.
but
Okay?
who's
So-
paying for that? I guess just the citizens of Collin County pay for that.
Right, so that, without phone calls, without you, the citizens, reporting them, they won't come out here and we get put on a back burner because we are safe.
Yeah,
Okay, so it requires citizen input, and we have had that engagement with with Collin County before. They did give us an email address, and we made it public last year. I can get that information again and make sure that we make that public on our website. So,
and this not, someone talk to the Islamic Center and say,
So
it would
that-
help us out if you would get some off-duty police officers
so
to help with the traffic
to
issues.
the best of my knowledge, that they have gone door to door down Lakeway Drive and have attempted to make appeasements before. So,
That, the traffic, what I saw in that lady's
I
video,
understand.
that's not an appeasement.
We
I
understand.
so.
So,
It's mouth, 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 no
As a
action.
resident that lives very, I'm a resident in that area, so even I would be directly affected by this. I understand and hear your concerns.
Okay.
Just for a little clarification, down like east and west on Lakeway in that drawing up there, that image, the red lines along Lakeway are what they're
No parking
recommending
sign.
as
No.
no parking?
that would be your no parking zones.
And the yellow dots are no parking signs?
That would be correct.
Okay.
I believe that's
And
correct,
the only
right?
thing to
That's correct.
The only thing to clarify is this is recommendations, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily what we're doing. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
It's just that beginning stage,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Understood.
Anything else, David? Larry?
No, sir.
Okay. Appreciate y'all's comments on that, thank you very much. At this time, we're gonna jump down to 6.5, discussion and possible action regarding a letter of intent with the Lakeview Shopping Plaza Incorporated to facilitate the processing of a special use permit for the operation of a church at 3990 Lakeway Drive, Suites 109, 110, and 111. And at this time, Mr. Nasser, you asked if you could speak.
Yes, good evening.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you so much. First of all, it's been long. Last time I was here back in 2004. We own that property. First of all, I want to thank you, all of you. I know it takes a lot of efforts what you all are doing, and thank you so much. We've been with the town since 2002. We remember The days there was no chairs and no room like that, fancy room. We remember all that. When we bought that property back in 2002, we were clearly told, we had the comments from people at that time. I remember the neighbor across the street. She was quite upset when we were developing, and the mayor and the council told them that this is a business park. Lakeway Drive was developed by a commercial developer for business park, and people knowing that it's commercial drive and it's a commercial area, bought a home, bought a land to build their homes. And they told us and told them, as long as we comply with ordinance and we build what law says, we can build. We have always appreciated town's help and support. I have talked with the administration before you. I really appreciate the study you have done, KSA. I think that's awesome. Safety is first. But at the same time, I want council and the mayor and the citizens to know that we also been there since 2002. We have families who work there and who wanted to earn living from the shopping center, you know, and we have always worked with the town. Whenever the town wanted us to do something, Mayor Lupi was here, we have worked with the town. And had that have been residential street from the, we would not have been able to build a shopping center there. So we were told that this is a commercial, and Mayor at that time told some of the residential people that you all knew that this is a residential area, this is a commercial development. But since that road looks so nice, people bought lots. They were $35,000, $45,000 lots. People bought it to build their homes, knowingly that it was a commercial area. So when there's a commercial area, you know, we have to have a delivery trucks come and deliver. And I appreciate and I think that where the delivery truck comes and park, I think that should be only loading and unloading zone. There should not be any parking there. And I understand the 18-wheeler guy, he went to the trouble, the videos said it very well. You know, we are willing to work with whatever the recommendation, safety of our neighbors comes first, but the neighbors also do need to understand, please, that we didn't just came from out of the blue and build this shopping center there. This area was developed by a gentleman who sold us these properties, those lots, and we were told that this is a commercial development. It was a business park. And we have to work together to see what's the best for the kids and for the town. And therefore, I have been in contact with Scott and with you, Mayor. We came and met you last month or two ago. Whatever the recommendation the KSA is willing to propose, if there's no parking on the entire street, I think that's a good thing. We are fine with that. If anybody parks there, they should get a ticket, you know? But the rules should apply, not for us, to everyone the same. I have two police officers, they were having a pizza this evening, I've been at the Goodfellow Pizzas, and I asked them about the safety of this road, and they said, Mr. Malik, this is a wide enough road. This is a county road, and this is a public property, people have right to park. So, you know, I'm just speechless here, I don't know what to say. Like I said, since 2002, most of the people I've heard they're here for 5 years, 10 years, 12 years. I don't know if anybody sitting here has been on the street since 2002. You know, so people do need to understand, Mayor and the council, that this is a business park. We did not decide to build this here if that would have been a residential area. So when you all make a decision, whatever decision you all make, please do keep that in consideration.
Okay.
And the letter of intent, of course, we talked with Scott. And I will appreciate, because I didn't know the SUP was expired, but they were issued a CEO to have that place. They've been there for 18 years. Before that, there was a church there. You know, we are willing to put some extra parkings in the back to make sure, and I personally have told them many times, use the parking in the property first. People have a bad habit, they don't listen. But I was happy to see when you have no parking sign where the fire hydrant was, nobody parked there this evening. And I personally stood out there when 3 people came in the park and I told them, no, there's 20 parking spots available. Why are you parking on the street? You know, but I don't live here. I cannot police them. My attorney even told me, Mr. Malik, you have no authority on a public right of way. But if the town make a decision, that the decision needs to be done. But please keep in mind, we also have a business to run.
Okay.
So keep that kind of consideration, and we will appreciate your help to get that SGP moving forward. Because, like I said, we have people who also make a living out of that facility.
Right.
There are families who live off of that facility. We pay tax, and we wanted to work with the town. So again, thank you so much for your help.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for coming in. Discussions on the letter of intent, I think you all saw
I think I
it.
noticed that you sent a letter on to your tenants.
Yes, sir.
To express your
Absolutely.
desire that they use the
Absolutely.
on-premise parking.
Yeah, I got the guidelines from Mayor. I think Mayor and I, we discussed last few months ago.
May.
And we couldn't come up with that idea, what should we restrict? And when Scott sent me that last week, I told Scott that the reason I wasn't able to send last week, my daughter was at Texas Tech and she had a hit and run, so I have to go over there, take care of her for a week. And when I came back last Monday, I sent a letter to all the tenants, and I have put in that letter, as you have read, that you will be subject to your lease termination if you don't abide by the occupancy ratio that have been given to us by the town. Of course. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. David, any questions?
Mayor,
Yes.
so council understands the purpose of this letter of intent is to collaborate with Nasser in developing or preparing a development agreement as far as how we're going to move forward with issuing another specific use permit for its property. And there is a deadline associated with having this development agreement approved. I think we have somewhere around May 5th that we have to have the development agreement in place, because currently the SUP that was issued, I forget when it was actually issued, it expired right around February 21 of 2011. And the church that's currently operating, or whatever church was operating at the time, has been operating illegally in the facility. And Mr. Nasser was first notified by the town attorney, Robert Dillard, in August of 2023 regarding the situation. And Nasser filed an SUP application, I think in September. That SUP application went before P&Z and Council for public hearings in 2024. We've had significant changes in staff, so we've been trying to get ramped up, and we've identified what we believe the best way forward in working with Lakeview Shopping Plaza is to enter into this letter of intent that we're going to work together and collaborate on preparing a development agreement as far as what the terms of the SUP would look like that we will forward to P&Z and Council in the future.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. So, and most of you are here, we have many churches that want to come to St. Paul. So again, this is that process. This is what we have to go through to try to work out an agreement if possible. And it's the first step in all. So please keep that in mind.
How are we going to deal with number one, where it says, the tenants of Suite 109, 110, 111, and 112 shall limit the number of participants at any one time to the maximum occupancy of 30 off-street parking spaces?
The best we can do right now, and if you look at number 2, that was in the LOI, that's why Nasser had forwarded the letter that he sent to me last Friday. He's notified the tenants. He's basically going to be the enforcement arm as far as making certain that they comply with what's been outlined in this LOI.
We've heard some promises in years past that didn't get, they just weren't made good on.
Councilmember, I wasn't here. That's what I drove from Houston today, even though I'm not feeling good, I was there.
Was it a brother? Was it a family
No,
member?
it was an agent. The tenants were here, but at that time
It was a representative of you, though.
Yes, yeah, but the guidelines were not in place, and that's what when I had a meeting with Neil.
There were no, but there were verbal promises made that certain things were going to be done and they weren't.
That is the reason, again, with due all respect to you, I discussed with the mayor about the occupancy, And we said, if I can get that occupancy determination, then I can enforce them as a landlord. So last week when I got that, that's what you see, I have never sent that.
And you're committed to enforcing them?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
How do you plan on enforcing it though?
Or I have put it in there, if they don't, if I have approved there are more people in there, then their lease will be terminated.
Are you gonna count them? Like, how do you know how many people are gonna be in there?
I have told the owners very clearly, actually, matter of fact, they have purchased another place down on the Parker Road, and they are moving in 2-3 months anyway. And I have another tenant who wants to come in, and I told them this is occupancy allowed by the town, and you have to, and plus, there are some additional parkings that I have talked with Scott that we are planning on putting in the back side of it, because there's no septic system there anymore. So we will address that as well, so there won't be no issue of people not coming. I agree with you, but if I get a complaint that there are more people in there, and I have been there, and if there are more people, then we will terminate the lease.
I would want to notify you in the event that there's violations, because we've attempted to contact you in the past and have hit roadblock after roadblock.
I have, honestly, Scott knows, we communicate on a regular basis. I have not got a call from any one of you. If there has been, like I said, please do understand.
Because it's not my facility to police, so,
I
right, so it would be yours.
Sir, with all respect, I'm not a police either, right? I can only be, so you do understand that.
So who does the building enforcement for your buildings?
So I think
If
that-
it's not, because it's not police.
Okay. So let's step back for a few. Back in 2011, you guys were not here, nobody. So when I believe that there should be due diligence by the town, they should not have issued a CO to that church and should have said, we are not going to issue you CO because there is no SUP. You will not have this discussion here today. I mean, I have discussed that with Scott. There have many times, there was things got done, and then as an owner, I have to come in, stand and clarify myself. So if in 2023, small example, I sent an application, it was accepted, the fees was paid. Last month or two ago, I got an email from Scott saying that application was filled wrong. Now, my understanding in my business, sir, if I send something to someone and I did something wrong or they did something wrong, I don't wait a year and a half. And when I accept somebody's money, that means they're good. I paid the fee. I have a receipt. I got an email from the previous town clerk. Your application has received. Money is received. 9 September 2023. And 2-3 months ago, I got an email from Scott saying that application is wrong. So you see, where do I stand? You tell me. Put yourself in my shoes.
I have a question. So when we met back at the beginning of June, that's the last time that we met,
Yes, sir.
and you were going to replat that particular property
Yes, sir.
and create more parking with some detailed engineering drawings.
Are we getting work on that?
And we had talked about that.
Yes, sir.
And have you turned in any of the engineering drawings?
He did.
More than just what's in here?
No, he filed a replat back in September. We gave him, we sent him comments back from Abiel, but we hadn't heard anything since then until recently. So the past 2 or 3 weeks, they've been very active in wanting to move forward with that project. So we're going to work aggressively with them, move forward with it, hopefully with some additional parking. So yes, he's moving forward.
Okay.
So Matt Busby is the sir who did the previous replatting. Abigail sitting here, hello, we first time. So we did a Zoom meeting together, and I actually hired somebody else last week, Friday, because we already paid that company a very hefty amount, and he was not delivering it. So after I talked to Scott and I said, I'm sending him a notice on Friday that if you don't deliver, it's not that he's doing it for free. We already paid him what he asked. And so I said, if you're not going to do it, we're going to find somebody else, because honestly, I don't want to be here to go through all this stress. I want to have a peace with you all. I want to make sure all the neighbors are happy. I'm 57 years old. I don't want to stress. So I talked to Matt Busby. I put a foot down. So Monday morning, he called me this morning, and he already sent a CAD file to Mike Land, who's a gentleman who's drawing everything. Mike Land was here this afternoon. He met me at the shopping center. He talked with Matt Busby. He's going to make everything the way Matt Busby and Phil has discussed. They want to have some guidelines on the drainage, on the easement, on the fire lane, so we're going to put everything in place. And hopefully by end of this week, we will have that for Scott and Abigail to review, and we will move forward with the replanting, and then we will get the parking situation out of the way. So I'm pretty sure by end of March or beginning of April, we will have all the parking. I mean, we will make sure everything gets done before May 5th, like you guys have passed.
Can we move up that timeline?
He has already signed the LOI, the way it's been drafted.
2 months.
So if he'd be willing to agree to a change and initial it, there's no reason why you could not.
Well, that date is just to submit
That
plans.
you have to have,
The enforcement of not parking on the street is immediate.
yeah, the enforcement of parking the street, we're gonna bring that particular ordinance before council on March 10th, and you're gonna consider ordinance as far as where you wanna put the no parking signs.
Right.
The development agreement, we have to have a development agreement approved and in place by May 5th, or else.
Mr. Malik, if you have to terminate your lease, how long before they have to get out?
So their lease ends end of May. And there are other tenants who have already approached us. And at the same time, I would like to counsel also.
Well, you didn't answer my question. How long before you would evict them?
Whatever the law permits, sir, I have to evict somebody in a residential to be.
Well, I mean, what I'm getting at is, are we going to wait till May if they're in violation? Or are you going
So,
to act on this sooner?
you know, I'm pretty sure that the new place, they also don't want all this problem.
Again, I don't care where they're going, I'm asking you specifically, is it going to be quickly, or are you
No,
just
it could be,
telling it May?
with all respect to you, sir, you know how system works. I'll be, if I, let's say you called me Tuesday and said they are not following it, I will send them the notice, and then I will file with the Collin County for eviction. I will file it immediately.
Okay.
Yes.
It takes 60 to 90 days to evict.
I will file, at the same time, I would also like council to help me out. We have seen a lot of people, and I have a lot of tenants, Frank is here as well, that at the rush hour time, that they cross through our shopping center to get on a Lakewood Drive. When there's a traffic blocking the right turn, there are 4 or 5 cars, they just jog through our shopping center. So I'm not sure what, I mean, we never complained that, but I know somebody said for people, but they do that. We see a lot of residents, they cut through shopping center to get to Lakewood Drive, or they cut through our shopping center to make a left on the Country Club Drive. So
Scott, the town's recommendation is that we approve this?
That you approve the LOI, but remove the diagram that was part of the packet that I'd sent to you. I've discussed that with our land use attorney today, and he recommends that we remove that diagram that Nasser had sent with his letters that were attached in the packet.
Is that for specificity?
There's some unknowns about the diagram that both Clark and myself weren't certain of.
And we're expecting some solution in reasonable time here, according to what Mr. Nasser said,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, and I
So
guess
it's got
yes, sir. The question I
engineering work
have.
in play.
So we're expecting aggressive, right, so these are the terms that have been used, aggressive response from Mr. Nasser on this, wanting to move forward with the
Yes.
development, with the LOI.
Yes.
I think we need to be more aggressive, and definitely I followed Justin's opinion, and it's in my opinion that this timeline, I don't mean to speak for you, it's in my opinion that the May 5th, 2025 needs to be moved up. I feel that it's in my opinion that 90 days is too much for a plan. If we were talking about beginning construction of flat work, I might accept that. But I think that it's not aggressive enough. So,
I think I would have to second what JT's saying in that aspect. This has been going on for an extended period of time with Mr. Nasser as well. So I think the town, Mr. Nasser and the rest of it, a little more aggressive approach to try to come up with a plan at a sooner deal where once we know those answers,
So if
then the
it's just-
public knows exactly what we're
As
going
far
to do.
as, remember, the development agreement is outlining the terms as
Right.
far as how we're going to move forward
Correct.
with another SUP. As far as additional parking.
No, that's in March. No, I
We're
understand.
moving on that now.
No,
Right.
and I completely understand, and this is
Right.
just for the developmental agreement.
Right, yes,
Right,
sir.
so I would like to see it, 30 days, versus 90 days. I know that this can be, it's a time constraint, however, I think it's warranted. As a member of seeing the previous administration and in the current administration, I myself and a couple others here, I think that, we can vote on making that change. We would have to vote for making that change. So I would like to propose that, at least for that, both parties further agree that if the developmental agreement is not executed by 10 PM on May 5th, that statement state 10 PM and then 30 days, within 30 days, so I can come through. So we got February 10th. So I would say, I'd like to move that to May 10th, which is, that's on a Saturday, so I guess,
You mean March?
sorry, March 10th.
May I say something, sir?
So that would be on a Monday.
It's not going to be happening, sir, because you don't, once the plating is done.
Well, I appreciate that. So I think that especially with it not happening, I think it's ample time for 30 days.
Right.
Um,
That's what, he's referring to the development agreement that we're going to work out the terms of the SUP.
Okay.
So I feel pretty comfortable that we
Okay,
can
that's fine.
have the development agreement if we work on it,
That's fine.
and have it in front of council by
I
March
don't make
10th.
any false promise, because once the
Right.
plating is done, then we have to go back to the lender.
Yeah, the plating is a completely different
Okay.
issue. And we can address that in the development agreement as well.
Okay.
As long as you're comfortable changing the date, because in the LOI, we had May 5th, so we'll change that to May 10th. I'll have you.
March 10th.
March 10th.
Well, March 10th. March 10th. And
We were given May 5th, can we do April 5th at least, because I wanted to get this thing done, I don't want to be here.
Right,
and-
so just based off, he wants to get this thing done, I think that 30 days is ample time. So it is going to be my recommendation, again, to make the change from May 5th to March 10th, 10 PM, so that gives it 30 days. Again, this is for the development agreement, for the agreement alone. So, March 10th, especially because he's wanting to be
February's
so
a short
aggressive.
month, it's not 30 days.
Pardon?
February's a short month, it's not 30
Well, it
days.
still gives it 4 weeks.
Just to clarify, it's
Okay.
not 30 days.
So you want, okay, so let's give it 30 days. So we got 7, 14,
that'll be a
21,
special called meeting.
21,
Keep it on the 10th, that's your regular
29,
meeting.
30, 21, right, so it'll be the 14th,
Special meeting.
Scott said we can keep it on the 10th, we can.
Regular meeting.
regular meeting. Okay, so that still works.
So this is clarifying, it's not 30 days, it's March 10th.
Okay, yeah, so, okay, so 7, 14,
March 12th.
21.
March 12th.
Okay, so 20, yeah, 28 days. Okay. From the 10th to the 10th, 28 days. So what needs to be done for us to make that change and then?
So in your
back to agree to
motion,
that?
in approving the LOI, it's going to be conditioned that you change the date from May 5th to March 10th, and that you also remove the diagram, the parking that was shown in your packet, because that's not part of what you're approving. It was attached to the LOI.
Right.
I have one question for Nasser as well. So your tenants are moving out, is it necessary to even move forward with an issue?
We'll have another tenants there.
Oh, okay.
Limited, so, this is.
Don't they require their own SUP?
That's what.
Well, he said his tenants were moving out.
No, I meant the new ones.
I don't know who's
So as
moving
you,
in.
like that, we discussed with Mayor, they said we'd rather issue you an SUV, so we don't have to go through this drama again.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
So he had mentioned that his tenants were moving out in May. And I thought, well, why are we going through all this trouble to issue another SUP if his tenants are moving out?
But
If you're not gonna be operating a church, then
Because that's
why?
not guaranteed.
That's retail, right?
Yeah.
Right, 'cause
Well,
that's-
it's
then that's a
another
guarantee.
church they want to come
Okay.
in. Yeah.
Well, doesn't each individual church have to apply for SUPs? Or
Well,
is this
it-
like
it-
a rollover?
No, so when you issue an SUP, it rides with the land,
With
not
the land,
necessarily. Right,
not necessarily with the
Right.
individual?
Yes, ma'am.
You gonna make a motion?
I'm trying to write down what JT made a change in that.
It's on the 6.5.
So we think that is doable though, right?
Sir, I was given May 5th, I said that's fine, and now you're saying May 12th, I have nothing.
March 10th.
March 10th.
12th, right, or March, whatever, I mean,
It's just to accelerate you working with Scott more aggressively to come up with an agreement.
so I honestly, if it's up to me, I will do it tomorrow, but there are other obstacles in it.
March 10th.
There you go.
Setting up
Sounds
a
good.
meeting with the Matt Busby
Okay.
and setting up
JT
meetings
was
with
making a motion.
The whole replat is different,
Okay,
okay?
Just wanna make sure.
Don't confuse it.
okay,
So,
thank you.
Scott,
It's just an agreement.
So,
You got it.
can you clarify for Mr. Nasser, just in just plain language, or just plain language, we can get exactly what he's agreeing to? Because I hear
Right.
uncertainty about the
Right.
development versus the plat.
Yeah, I was
Couple
confused
times,
on that,
so
so.
that's
why-
Right.
Well, what we're talking about is agreeing to everything you've already signed, just changing a date.
Right,
So
no,
I don't
that's
think we- I don't
what
think we need to
I'm glad
clarify.
Scott
You've already
cleared.
signed.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, that's fine.
I'll make a motion. We good for that? All right.
Read it out.
I'll make a motion that we accept the LOI under the condition that we change the date of execution of the development agreement from May 5th, 2025 to March 10th, 2025, and that we also remove the diagram of the parking in this packet.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes March 10. Understood?
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, JT. So, at this time, we will, let's see if we got to get back on order. 6-1, which is discussion and possible action regarding proposal for WOPAC Construction Incorporated to install a curb ramp at 2500 Levon Parkway. At this time, I would ask that we table this issue for at least till March 10th, when we have our workshop, so that things can be corrected. I didn't have an opportunity to look at the agenda items prior to them being posted, and the information in that agenda is incorrect. And so we need to make some corrections to it, so that the addresses, there's actually 2 addresses that are involved, not one. There's grass involved, there's rocks involved, as well as a curb ramp that we talked about. So we'll correct that and get that back. If I could table that until next month, I'd appreciate it.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
So moved.
I'll make a motion that we table 6-1 to next month.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries till next month. 6-3 is discussion and possible action regarding a resolution number 250210A objecting to the pre-application submitted by St. Paul Apartments LP, also known as St. Paul Senior Homes, to Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs for possible funding through a competitive housing tax credit program to develop affordable multifamily rental housing in the town of St. Paul. Do we have discussion? I think we ran across this once before, where every year, I believe, isn't it, Scott, that the state cuts out some affordable funding for this kind of a development, and they reach out to many, many towns. We've seen this before. And so this is talking about objecting to their application for that grant money. So if y'all have any discussion or
And I guess the
questions.
main reason I don't know that generally I'm opposed to having nursing homes in St. Paul, but it sounds like that the reason we're wanting to reject it is because they didn't work with us, and we don't have very much detail
Well,
about
yeah, And that's how I drafted the resolution, because I really wasn't given really any detail on the project. And reaching out to TDHCA, I asked them if we have an option to file a resolution that would object to the project. And they said absolutely, that your objection would carry a lot of weight in the scoring criteria. And that's why it's been drafted the way it has. I know the timeline moves relatively quickly on these type of projects. I think they have to have the final application by the end of March. And I haven't heard from them. I haven't seen any side elevations of what they're proposing, other than that they're looking at possibly building some elderly apartments over there by the Montessori School on Parker Road.
Just to clarify, you said nursing home, I don't think it's a nursing home.
No,
No,
it's
it's
like a
it's
lower
elderly
income
housing.
Elderly housing. Okay. And so, sorry about that. So we don't know if it's gonna be behind it, next to it, what the parking's gonna be like, lighting, or any of that stuff.
I don't know anything else, right?
So, yeah, I get it. Okay, thanks.
So who determines it?
So what action are you asking us to take?
To approve the resolution that's
To
before you.
object.
To object.
So approving the resolution rejects.
Right.
To object,
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve 6.3 as stated.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, moving to 6.4, discussion and possible action regarding the acceptance of the annual Republic Services Consumer Price Index rate adjustment for the town of St. Paul.
Mayor, I'm going to ask council to table this item until your next meeting. I was hoping Rick could be here.
Okay.
He wasn't able to make it this evening, so if we could table it until March, it'd be great.
March
Okay.
17th?
Is it okay?
Yes.
Do you have a motion to
I'll
table?
make a motion to table 6.1.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion's tabled. 6.6, discussion and possible action regarding mass communication platform. Let me see if I can make this happen. Let's see if I can make it a little bigger for you guys. What is it?
Yeah, you can make it big. Can't hit the box.
Maximize.
Yeah, maximize.
I know, that's,
You need the wireless.
keep saying it ends up over here. There we go. Okay, here we go.
There we go.
Did you help me?
Make them sing.
I love it.
You killed me.
Duplicated.
There we go, close enough. There you go. All right. So, for the people that are here, this is, goes with the mass notification, siren poles, things of that sort. This was brought up, this was, it says, why are we talking about mass communications? Wiley, back in April of last year, somewhere around there, they had 2 siren poles that they were decommissioning, putting up new ones. And so they were offered to donate them to the town of St. Paul. So after that, and I became mayor, I went to the city of Wiley and I met with Chief Brandon Blythe, and we sit down and we talked about these poles. Why are they coming down if they're still good? And he says, well, they might need a little maintenance and this and that and whatever. So after I did that, I went to Princeton Fire Department. I've talked to Parker Fire Department. I talked to Lavon Fire Department. And it became obviously clear that the free siren poles we're going to get were going to cost about $17,000 to install those 2 used ones. And then we had to come up with a mass communication software on top of that on a yearly expense to operate these, along with electric bills. You can see clearly here the right-of-way requirements. We don't have contracts, maintenance, and the bill got pretty big. Not only that, we were, at least through Wiley, they budget for 2 new ones in case one goes down so you can replace it, and that was an extra $50,000. So the price tag got pretty big pretty quick. So as this budget for these audible sirens grew, I started looking outside of that at some other alternatives coming from the fire department side of things. That's where I came from in my career. I believe in it, in helping people, but we got to do it for a town of our size. So I took a look at 4 options, the siren pole being one, Everbridge, Nixle. Everbridge is what our county operates under. Rave is out of Canton, Texas. They run a Rave program. Several, Princeton and Parker over here use Civic Plus. Wiley uses Nixle Everbridge as well. So that's the ones that I looked at. So when I went around and looked, I talked to the PIO officer over in Wiley. I met with their total dispatch, their fire department, everything I could over there. I've talked to Parker, Princeton, Canton, Texas. I went through, like I said, 3 or 4 fire chiefs, and then I've had multiple contacts with Rave, Civic Plus, and Everbridge Nixle. That's those software programs that do this. So in the case of Rave, they are more of, they call your phone and it leaves a message saying you got a tornado alert, thunderstorm warning, whatever, home, house, whatever, it'll leave you a message. Nixle does exactly that as well. And so there's different things. So here in the efficiency, that only notifies those affected. You can send it to reduce the panic, and at the same time you can also send those emergency notifications out. Residents receive clear and specific information out of software-based. It's a faster response. JT sat on one Zoom with me, and he asked a lot of very technical questions as to how fast these things are from the time we hit a send button or whoever, how fast does it get to that telephone that you access. And so it's pretty quick. So this gives us many different things that we're able to do. The big ones when I started talking to people is geo-targeting and what that represents, and I'll show you in a minute. That's something that is something most cities can't. Wiley lost control of it. St. Paul has the ability to do it and do it well, and it really could benefit us in many ways, and I'll explain that to you in just a minute. We can send text to our citizens as well. The ability to send things like Republic forgot your trash today and they're going to pick it up tomorrow. Things of that sort. So it's two-way communication. We're able, not just emergency notification, but we're able to send out to reach to you guys. Council meeting on February the 10th. Things of that sort. We can get to that. And so it also lets us track resident data. We're going to be able to make a complete town list of emails, phone numbers, and addresses. So that if we had an issue with your particular address, anything we want to know, we could send you an email. And you could call, get back with us, and we're able to work that out before you get those happy letters that go out saying mow your yard. So it does allow for a lot of things. The iPause, I think JT had asked about in that Zoom call, and this does put us in line for that. When we go for grant money, a lot of that kind of stuff tends to matter. We get credit for that when we apply. So when I put together these little charts on what exactly each one of these 4 do, you can see that Siren Pole only offers 2 things: outdoor notifications and the emergency notifications only. That's the audible. Rave is kind of the same thing, but to your telephones. Civic Plus and Nixle, Everbridge Nixle, offer both. Civic Plus is more for internal. City of Parker had Nixle, went to Civic Plus because they do the water bill, they do the electricity, they do sewer, so they use the Civic Plus side. It integrates with web pages a lot easier in the end. So per account, this is one that when JT was sitting down, we were talking to these people, how many accounts could we get on a particular software package? And you can see, of course, in the first one, grounded cell phone, the Everbridge Nixle puts the most out there compared to Civic Plus. That was our reluctance, was having 4. What if you had a family of 5, 3 kids? You don't want to set up a second account and without having that oversight from that parent. So we were trying to find something that give us the most impact to be able to cover under one address, one house, and one account. And so you can clearly see here which one seems to offer the most. This is what I was talking about, geo-tracking. St. Paul's unique. We got FEC on one side of Parker Road and Encore on the other. This is not exact. But what you can do with geo-tracking, once you get these addresses in there, is you can actually separate the town by Encore, FEC. If Encore has something going out, we can just send the Encore people, your power's fixing to go out. Back in Snowmageddon, would have been nice. Same thing with FEC customers as well. The other things, we can break St. Paul into zones. By doing this, if you had a tornado that happened to come through and hurt an area in St. Paul, we needed to cordon off roads, do anything like that, notify those citizens in those zones, we could actually take care of just that without alerting the entire town making them panic, things of that sort. So it does allow us to write these polygon tools and coordinate with that. So this is where I had a little bit more access to Everbridge Nixle because of the county, and they put me in touch with somebody. So both of them work basically the same. You could put an icon on our website. You could send out a mass mailer to people saying, go to our website and sign up. They're going to click on it. It'll take them to a sign-up page. We can designate addresses or phone numbers that are mandatory they fill out. Once we capture that, that puts them with the address into that polygon system, geo-tracking for us to do that. For the elderly that may not do the cell phones anymore, they can call City Hall and we can do something like that for it. So it's real simple on the sign-ups, passwords, things of that sort, just like we do on everything in our daily lives. Oops. And then here's your address, location name. Again, if you put those asterisks by it, that means it's mandatory. You get that field filled out. Once it does, then they're in our system. Once they're in our system, they're in the geo-tracking entity as well. So when you look at the cost of these, you can see, and again, these are estimates, but you can see in the initial cost of your siren pole was about $75,000 to put back in that budget. And then I just estimated because of maintenance, testing, and software at $6,500 yearly cost. If you look at the other three software platforms, they're all pretty close. Rave only does a couple, it's unlimited phone lines, but they only do emergency notification. There is no back and forth response, text messages, things of that sort. Civic Plus and Nixle both do pretty much the same thing. The county runs Everbridge. I was trying to loop into their account, see if we couldn't get a discount. Still working on that, if that's it. So I broke it down by cost per head. Out of a 992 population, you can see they're all pretty close on cost. It's just not a huge expense as far as that goes. So the two, when you breaks down, if you wanted to go the two-way communications, you got Everbridge, Nixle. Nixle is your emergency notification part. Everbridge is the Civics Plus part, where it let us integrate with our website, things of that sort. And so Nixle, Everbridge, the Nixle part is a little bit designed more for smaller communities. Civic Plus is more software integrated with your websites. So I think Scott's familiar with Civic Plus a little bit. And so either one is a platform to consider. So final, the Everbridge team that I've been dealing with, I've talked to them about 5 times. Civic Plus I've had one with, JT was with me on that one. And I had one email response. Rave cut me a price, hadn't heard from them since. So I kind of look at that as who's going to work best with our town. So again, I'm not telling y'all to choose it. You can kill it. It was brought up way back in the past administration. I wanted to make sure everybody had their opportunity to look at what options are out there for the citizens. And so Everbridge reached out to me, and on March 10th meeting or another date, they are willing. Elise Weiss and this Ted, which is a technical engineer that I've been speaking with, they're willing to do a Zoom call with you guys to explain anything if you guys are interested in the Everbridge Nixle package. So again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just trying to say this is where we got from a siren pole that was used to what can we actually afford. For the cost of the siren poles, we can run something like Civic Plus or Everbridge for about 35 years for the same cost.
So, hey, Scott, in our subscription software, we've got $3,000 budgeted. What is that for?
Revise our website.
Okay, so it's not for this. And
It can probably be bucketed under IT or something like that.
Does Inspiration have any kind of notification system?
No, they don't. I did speak to Inspiration. They are interested, once, if we decide to go with this, they were interested in offering it to their residents. So in that case, since they're a MUD district, they don't really...
They can pass it on to their homeowners.
They can, but they don't qualify for the same, I guess I'll use wrong terms, price rate. So what we could do and what we're willing to do is if we decide we wanted to go with Civic Plus or Everbridge, then I would reach out to Inspiration again. I've already talked to both of these about the population. They have about 5,000 there. And we could actually sell them that part of the system, and we would manage that part of the system. It's up to them to get signups, them to do the work, them to do all of their own people. But we could just make sure,
We would just build our HOA and then.
pretty much, that's correct.
Okay, makes sense.
So it is an option that they were interested in.
But we also could partner with the county, it sounds like, too.
Well, right now, the county uses Everbridge. Again, it's like the Civic Plus part, where it's more for their staff to talk to the water department, the street department, kind of that direction. It's an internal thing. So, yeah, I mean.
So I must have missed something, I thought that was the better one, I guess.
Well, again, they all offer something a little different. I would say Everbridge and Civic Plus are very similar, but where Nixle comes in is it's a second arm of Everbridge. That's your emergency notification route. And where I think they might be a little ahead is in how many lines they offer and what different text message capabilities, other things they do. Another thing
That's only from interdepartment to interdepartment, it's not to citizens?
for Civic Plus?
No, for Everbridge Nixle.
No, you can actually send it to the citizens.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Nixle, you know, when it comes to app development and app updates, they're definitely leading from the bunch. It's a
Right.
much larger company.
So it's just, again, this is just one of those things that's out there for you guys to think about, consider. I'll be happy to talk with any other companies again, set any meetings up for you guys. I just wanted you to
Well,
know.
I'm still confused about your comment about Nixle, but I can sync up with Scott or something like that. But if we can partner with the county, we usually can. That's usually.
At this time, they told me, no, we couldn't partner with them. So where this is going everywhere is Rave, the company Smart 911 Rave, they do Louisiana, state of Arkansas. They're huge for that, just that platform. And so, but the county is hurting on money right now, according to what they're telling me. And so they're not willing to kick any money towards the Everbridge part to help us at this time. But it's one of those things, if the county has Everbridge and we're on Everbridge, then if that's available, we can piggyback off of that
Right.
at some point.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's necessarily an option at this stage.
It's usually, in the past, it's been better for us to align with the county where we can, because we're small.
Well, and one of the things that I made sure and asked both of them, and it's Scott's helping bring back the green up cleanup that we do. Well, when we send out one of those mailers to the public, you're looking at about, what, $700 between stamps and printing for us to send that out in the town. With a platform like this, we could do it once we get everybody in this system. We can just send that. It'll either send a link to our email address, or we can send the text itself, and then we've eliminated. We can reach them more often, and at the same time, we can cut that cost.
This was all because of the proposed sirens that we dealt with
So
last
Scott,
year.
do you have a recommendation?
I've never worked with Everbridge, I've always worked with Civic Plus. I've heard very good things regarding Everbridge and Nexel. Wiley uses them as well. Civic Plus just tends to have, at least by my experience, I don't know Everbridge that well, a lot more adaptability to different operations in a city. Like, instead of preparing your packets the way I am currently, we can do them electronically. You know, there's a lot of different functions of Civic Plus for municipal operations. As far as just mass communication, I think you're good with Civic Plus or Everbridge.
Right, either way.
The one thing I was going to ask the mayor, in his discussions with Everbridge and the other vendors, was there ever any mention about potential co-ops that you could purchase the product through, like Houston Galveston Area Council? Because usually that's where you get your better deal.
The only one that I had any conversation with, because I tried to piggy off the county, was Everbridge. Civic Plus, I didn't have any access. I know that Parker ran Everbridge Nixle at first, but then when they took over water, sewer, those kind of deals, they needed a different notification platform that interfaced with their software, so they ended up going to Civic Plus. St. Paul, where we don't have all of that, I think it leaves the door open.
Yeah. I think it's, I mean, council chooses to go with Everbridge and Nexus tonight. It's an easy phone call I can make tomorrow with one or two co-ops to see if they're partners with Everbridge, we're going to get a cheaper price.
Sure.
Okay.
So, again,
Are you asking for any other action tonight on?
I just wanted, this was something,
approving something that's,
again, I was not pushing towards anybody. What I was attending was, the siren pole got brought up once before, and it kind of fell off the radar, but it got put out in public. Let's get all that communication out there. If you guys want to make a motion that we get bids on 2 again, or get bids on 3, or whatever you want to do, I'm open. If you want to say, nah, we're not interested in any of this, I'm open. This, again, was a presentation to you guys so that we know what happened to those siren poles and what we want to do for the community.
I appreciate the research, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It sounds like Scott's gonna make some calls, so maybe from there we can have an action next time.
But it would only be cheaper than what we're talking about, so why do we need to wait and add this to another agenda meeting?
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we move forward with electing Everbridge Nixle. Hopefully we can get a better rate. So, make a motion that we approve the
Everbridge
Nixle
platform.
with, for the next 5-year contract, with 5-year contract.
These were all 5-year contracts, correct?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Is there any, did we officially vote on these free
So we had the original paperwork, that documentation that we were given, the numbers were just placed.
So there's nothing we need to rescind?
No.
There's not.
No, Wiley Chief is good, and yeah, I'll tell you that personally later, but yeah, he's good.
Okay.
So I appreciate you guys putting up with that. 6-7, discussion and possible action regarding interlocal agreement with the Parker on a municipal court services. So I got an email, I talked to them today, went over there today. I'm going to share an email with you guys. Good afternoon, I sent the email to our city attorney, Catherine Clifton. She is currently working on this item today. She also mentioned that St. Paul would have to execute it first before Parker. So I provided the email to her and asked her if she would further explain to you since you have a council meeting tonight. I hope she will provide more in detail and relay it to your council. So I did not hear back. The attorneys have it tonight. They were hoping to get it to me by 7. Obviously they didn't. We're really close. I expect to hear from them tomorrow. So just giving y'all an update on that. So again, one more time we'll table that. But that's where we stand in that ILA with the city of Parker.
Are we tabling that to the next meeting? Yes.
I would think so, yes, sir, for the 10th.
Is that worth asking for a special session? I'm asking my peers too.
That was a question. I don't think so, because once the ILA is signed and we have a municipal court, we're going to have to get Travis to sit down with Gary, their head.
Agreed, that's why I'm asking.
I think.
We move that along.
Oh, to try to move it along? We could, if you guys are open to it, a special session once we get something from the city of Parker.
In between now and next meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just, it would have to be a supermajority.
So, how about we wait till we hear back from the attorney, and then we can get communication from Mr. Scott,
Okay.
and I guess I'm open to it.
Well, we just table it without a firm date for now.
Okay, I'll keep you posted on that. I'll be reaching out to them first thing in the morning.
Motion to table?
Motion to table.
I'll make a motion that we table the 6.7.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So 6.8, discussion regarding the possibility of removing nursing home or residence home for aged as allowed use within our town of St. Paul charts. So I had a conversation with Brandon Blythe again from Wiley Fire Department. We had a issue that came up in town where a particular individual needed EMS services 3 times in 3 months. So you guys know what we pay for those services. That's about $7,500. So it came up in a conversation with Wiley and a thought process, which is with Parker Road getting widened and zoning changes, if we're not here and this is 5 years in the future, we pay $2,377 per run for EMS service here. So if we put in a nursing home or a aged home for the aged and they require EMS at an accelerated rate, that could really bankrupt the town. And that was my concern. So the question is, do you guys want to remove that nursing home and home for aged out of our chart for the SUP designation? Doesn't mean it can't do it, it just means it would be removed.
So,
SUP?
so they still have to get an SUP?
Yes.
Correct.
And that potentially would come along with the developer's agreement, or, I don't know, anyway. The point where I'm going is that it seems like you could work out some kind of deal with the SUP or some kind of arrangement where the costs are shared more heavily towards
Well,
the business.
normally on a nursing home, you have 2 EMS facilities. You have 911 EMS, and then you have private ambulance, right?
Right.
So let's use Garnet Hills over off of McCreary. If it's a routine deal, they're always going to use the private, which that's not the city, that is private. But if someone happens to push that 911 button, that's us. And so the question is, are we setting ourselves up by having that in the zoning? I just brought it up because it was a conversation with the fire chief who we get service off of.
Okay. Well, I mean, just like you were saying, 5 years from now, whatever, 5 years from now, we're gonna be older too. We might need some more of that.
So it's not saying you can't still call, it's just saying you don't get a nurse, you know, if you didn't have that in the zoning, maybe it would not entice someone to say, well, let's put one right here in the middle of St. Paul.
Okay.
So that's the only thing reason I brought it up to you guys.
Right.
So if y'all would like to make a motion to remove it off of that SUP chart, and it's not saying it's dead, it just means it's not something that's advertised. If you want to remove it, that's fine, and if you don't, that's fine.
Mayor, you asked this to be just a discussion item, were you looking?
Oh, on this, I did ask for a discussion only, so I'm sorry. We don't need a motion on that. That's something we'll think about and bring back up. But you might consider that being from that SUP category.
Yeah, in general though, I mean, I do want to make sure that we're considering different businesses out there and different services that are needed. So.
Well, I think with the town starting to get a little bit of sewer in certain areas on the outskirts, because of what inspiration coming through and things, if we ended up, because of that sewer being, there's some vacant property up there behind a pizza joint. If somewhere like that actually wanted to build a facility like that, it could be as nice as it could be, and that's not the question. The question is, what's that going to do to the taxpayers?
And so I guess just to circle back one more time, so regardless of whatever kind of agreement they may have with a private company, then it would still, the cost still come back to the town?
There's ways you could work
That's
that
what I was
out in
wondering.
an
It seems like there'd be
SUP.
some kind of SUP agreement to where those costs get offset by
Yeah,
the
you
business.
could, I mean, it could work out in an SUP, and then how you're gonna hold them accountable.
Right.
There can be some very nice
Maintenance agreements.
Yeah.
age-restricted or age facilities. We did one in Salina when I was there, Sellers Ridge, which was a great addition to our community. But there are things you can definitely put in SUP to control that as well.
Again, just discussion, something for you to think about.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Well, just discussing, just trying to figure out what the future options could be. Because it seems like we could, I mean, it's not fair for the town of St. Paul for that business to not have to be a part of what's going on. That's the business they're in. So I would think we'd need to be able to work something out with them, but maybe not say no, but just have a better way that we arrange those things.
When I talked to Brandon Blythe about it, I know City of Wiley, of course, that's a big one, a lot of bigger tax dollars. That's just a cost that they burden.
Yeah, yeah.
So, on there.
Okay, well.
Did he propose any, or did they have any solutions?
No.
Okay, well, I'll look into it more.
Okay.
I'm sure we all will, just
Okay.
curious to see what we're gonna do.
6.9, thank you guys. 6.9, discussion possible action regarding resolution number 250210B, which calls for and orders a general election to be held Saturday, May 3rd, 2025 for the election of town council members, places 1, 2, and 4. Do we have anyone that signed up yet?
We've had 2 of the sitting council members sign up, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I'd like to motion for the approval of resolution number 25-02-10-B.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. It goes with 610, discussion possible action regarding a joint election services contract and agreement with Collin County Election Administrator for the conduct of a joint election to be held on May 3rd, 2025, and to be administered by Collin County Election Administrator. Do you want, this is
just a boilerplate agreement that the town enters into every year for Collin County to receive your elections on your behalf. They receive it for joint elections for just about every school district in the city of Collin County. That's pretty straightforward, nothing different from what you've approved in the past. It does include the costs that's outlined in Exhibit C. I think the cost for this year, they had $3,850 that they've identified for charges for the town, and we have $4,000 in the budget.
Is this just one day, or is this like early voting too? or-
Early voting as well, also.
And it's for all elections, correct?
This election.
It's just this one, just this.
So in the past, when we didn't have elections here at all, I take it that we always budgeted it every year for the election, but we didn't have it in this facility. So was that a cost that we didn't incur all those years?
If we don't put something on the ballot, it doesn't go against us.
Yeah, I can't speak to what you all were doing in the past, sir.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is if we only have one more council member if he resigns, and let's say nobody else puts in, so theoretically, it's the election, but we wouldn't put it with Collin County elections, would we?
When everybody's unopposed and the election is canceled, you pay them a cancellation fee, which is a moderate amount, $300 or $400.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Where if we carry the county election agreement, that's going to be here no matter what, that we have that added cost every time. So that's just something that needs to be known.
Every time?
Well, if we have that election here in May 3rd.
Yeah, this is for 2025.
Correct. So if we didn't have anybody running against our current council.
Right, and we cancel the meeting, then you're going to pay the fee that Bob had.
Yeah.
Correct,
Let me see if I can help with the questioning, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor.
I'm missing something.
Well, so is the holding of the election here in this room tied to us having people run on the ballot? The cost for that?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't think so either. We're just,
If that's
we
what you're
offer up
referring
this
to.
location
No.
for them to use. That doesn't cost us anything. What costs us is for them to run the election of people on the ballot that they have to tally and make sure that it's accurate.
That's kind of what I was asking the question. Even if we're not associated here, but we have somebody from the county on that ballot, that doesn't come back on our expense.
The only cost that we have is just the fact that we leave the doors open,
Right.
Okay.
we're running utilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So we need a motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we approve the joint election services with Collin County.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So at this time, we're going to go into executive session as authorized by Chapter 551, Subchapter D of the Texas Government Code. The regular meeting will be convened into closed executive session under the following exceptions. Section 551.074, discuss and deliberate on personnel matters, discussion regarding the position of town attorney. So at this time, we'll go into executive session. And we can exit, we reconvene, we on? Reconvene back into regular council session at this time.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Stand adjourned.